Okay, so it was my intention to make a full tutorial on how to recreate the character customization setup that I had in the other video that many people were asking me about. So I started to make it, but then I realized that it was a lot of work to redo it from scratch, and I had other things to work on at the time. So because this is taking so long, I decided to just crack open the original file and just show you guys what's going on in here. And since this would be more of like an intermediate project, I think those of you who just take a look at the blueprint will have an idea of what's going on. And also, I have to say, much of this is quite messy because at the time I still didn't know a few very important fundamental things about how Unreal Engine works, such as I didn't know what the game mode was for and what the player character is for, and how to use them properly. So I was trying to do everything in I think it was in the character blueprint, which was not a good idea, and overcomplicated things that didn't have to be that complicated. But I will show you first in general what's going on here, and then I'll go into the nitty-gritty of like each blueprint and how it works. So for starters, a lot of this project was consumed by the asset. Creating the asset was very difficult. I had to learn a lot of things about modeling that I still didn't know. I got a basic human 3D model that I then modified to get the various pieces of the character. So this is my asset folder here, and we have the SK humans. This is the skeleton mesh of the human. This is the complete one, and then I imported where I was testing things, and then here I imported the separate parts, so arms, head, legs, and torso. This is because in the final blueprint they're all separate. The other thing I have is, of course, the material, master material, but obviously to the SK human is assigned the material instance instead, so that we can modify it. You will see later in blueprint. So create the master material and then the material instance, assign the material instance to the SK human. These are all my textures. This eye color mask is actually a very small mask. Let me see. I don't know how big it is. It's very small. It's like 100 by 100 or something like that. And we'll see how to use that. And then there are all my grooms. So I was set in stone, because this is Unreal Engine 5 and they added the grooms, to do it with real hair. Real groom hair. And I think this was a mistake. It was very difficult to make it work because it was still buggy and some things don't work. So these are all actual grooms, and each groom has its own binding. So remember, there is the groom and then there is the binding, which attaches it to the skeleton. And these are all the various options. I modeled them all in Blender and used them. I just imported them. I don't remember the settings at the moment, but there is a few things to remember about this. And then I looked online for a good hair material, which I'm not gonna show because I actually paid like $1 or something like that. I paid something to obtain the material, so I'm not gonna showcase it here, but I think Unreal already has a default groom material to utilize. So maybe you can just look at that, maybe a tutorial online on how to do that. Okay, so let's start with the skeleton. Um, there are a couple of important things on the skeleton here. I wanted to. I didn't want to double my work for doing a female and a male character, so I did it only with one rig. That was also a mistake. I should have done two different rigs for male and female, because it would have simplified a couple of things later on. But I was set in stone to have a slider that would go from male to female, so all it is a blend shape. So I can turn the legs to male. I have some few like different like basic ones for like overall changes. So head male, as you can see, it turns to a male pretty much. And the arms, legs, I lost it, doesn't matter. So yeah, there's the arms somewhere, but I don't know where they are. So yeah, I could make the male and the female from the same character. And it's all with blend shape. I used pretty much a Morph deformer on Blender or something like that to get it to match from the female to the male model that I had, and then adjusted the vertices to kind of to make sure that it doesn't make weird shapes. And this is also because then I didn't have to double the amount of blend shapes that I have to do just for the head. So this is the body part. The other important part about the skeleton mesh is that there is the regular skeleton on it, and then on top of it added there was these deform bones. There's like some of these bones are doubled, and what these do, they allow me to scale the mesh without affecting the animation. So pretty much for example, lower arm deform is a child. It's the same child to, what is it? I think it should be the child of the lower arm. Yeah, lower arm bone. And it's the same for everything else. If you look at it, there should be head deform. See, this one allows us to scale the head. Which I don't think I used it because I was doing something else with it. Yeah, so that's it. Just to show how I did how to modify the body, pretty much. Some people were asking me about that. I did make an explanation in the comment, but yeah, this is how it looks. Let's see. Is there something else here? No, that was it. There are sockets, but I didn't use those. I was trying to make a bigger project, but then I kind of stopped it. it was a lot of work. I think I'll just deform, so tight deform, yeah, something like this, and then we can like scale it up. Okay. So that's it for the human skeleton. Now we move on to the material. So this is the material. Master material for the character. I'll start with the skin color. So it's the usual. It gives me a parameter to change the skin color if I want to. White means that it's the same color, it's like pink. It's the same color as the original texture that I have. And this is the skin mask, which tells the UV where to place the skin texture and when not to. They're lerped, then multiply with the skin tone. This one tells the skin color where it needs to be applied, otherwise it's going to apply on the whole texture, and then also the clothes and everything is going to have this tint. So this one is only applied to here. After that, I did the iris color. Now the mask for the iris color is slightly more complicated than that. This is the same texture, just black and white, pretty much, and just masked out the parts that are not supposed to be. But this, the iris color, because I don't want to make like a giant 2K texture to just have like a small round circle at the bottom right, and that takes us memory space. I just made like a very small circle texture map, which you see here, the eye color mask, and then I utilized a panner. So texture coordinate, the time is 1, so that it doesn't actually move, and then the coordinate themselves in the texture. So this one is applied, the small texture is applied to the bigger texture, and then is translated to the spot where I needed it. And these two just trial and error until I got it exactly where I wanted it. And on top of it, we apply the actual color, which is a parameter. So we interpolate them together, and then it moves on to the garment. The garment stays over top, and it's just added to the color itself. And the garment mask tells us, because I did both, the character can be seen viewed naked or semi-naked, and also with clothes. And I didn't show that earlier in the SK human, but it does have garments. Well, I'm not gonna show it, but yeah, so it does have a garment slider, which allows the body to have that shape with or without the clothes. And this is the switch that I use, and now I know that there is an actual switch parameter that I could have used, but this is just a regular 0 to 1 parameter, and this allows the mask to go through and black out or blank out the parts that need to have the cloth color. Okay, so that's that. And now we move on to the normal map. So the normal map had several layers that add on top of each other in order to gain like the musculature, the age wrinkles, and the garment normals. Garment would be the clothes, and then the regular overlay for the character regular normal map, which in this case is no normal map at all, because I'm handling all of the normal maps with these three. So the musculature, each one of them has the same setup. It's something I watched on a tutorial. I encourage you to go look for how to add wrinkles with normal maps in Unreal Engine. That's the exact setup that I use. So I'm separating the three red, green, blue, and on the red, green, I add I'm multiplying a parameter, muscles. So how much muscle do you want? You multiply it to the red and green, and that makes float 3, 0 on the blue because we don't want to mess with the blue, and then we add them together. So this it pretty much enhances this normal map, and then it's added to the nose wrinkle, which is the age wrinkles, which is exactly the same. So it's pretty much interpolate from 0 to this amount, whatever this amount is going to be, and then it is added. So this is the important node. There are a few important nodes that I will point out. These are the ones that I didn't know about, and then they made this whole thing work. So blend angle corrected normals, it allows you to add two normal maps together. Same here, it's the exact same thing for the garment, pretty much same setup. It is masked out. So this one, and actually this one is a little bit more simple. I just mask it out. So if the wearing garment is off, then the mask doesn't even come through. And finally the base. So this is like a 0, 0, 0 overlay, or 0, 0, 1 overlay, just to get the base level. And it's blend angle corrected normal and plugged into the normal of the master material. Lastly, this is the classic occlusion roughness metallic, using the other masks that we have. Like I separate, this is one of those masks that has used each different channel to extrapolate different maps. So just it's a cheaper way to do masks. So texture sample, I grab this one, the occlusion metallic roughness. What is this? Oh, this is the garment one. Okay, that's the same one, just with the garment and masked out. Then I grab this value, which is an RGB, and I mask it. So RGB separate, roughness metallic, and occlusion, and just put them into the material. I don't even think I needed to plug the occlusion. I don't know why I did. I guess since I had it, I just added it. This is just to make the eye shinier. I guess at the end I realized, hey, I feel like the eyes should be a little bit more specular than they should. So I just grabbed that mask from earlier from the eye, and I just the skin mask. So the skin is a little bit shinier. And so I just added a little bit of value there. That's it. So that's the master material, and all of this value, like the skin color, pupil color, is wearing garment, and muscles, age. And that's it. These are my parameters. All of these parameters are, and the shininess. So how shiny do you want the skin, in case you want it like wet, or like if it's raining, you add more value to this one. All of these parameters are the ones that we're gonna modify in the with the blueprints. So this is the total material. Now this is the part that the asset part. The groom, I would recommend just to make it with cards. Don't use grooms. That was just a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. I was just really pumped about the grooms. Okay, moving on. So there were two maps, which sorry, I cannot share them because I'm using paid assets for these. But yeah, so I got the little medieval house. So this is the, let's say, the playing map where the character can run around. And then I have another map for the character customization. I hope this is not gonna take too long. Okay, so the character customization is this scene over here, where I just have the character. There we go. Let me see. There it is. So BP customization character. Right. As you can see, this is the scene, if you remember from the video, and this is what we're actually using to customize the character. Then once the character has been modified, all of that data is transferred to the material to the game instance, and then plugged onto the play character during the map switch, and so that the character that you play with is gonna look like the one that you utilize to customize the character. So that's the important concept here. There are two maps. Each one of them uses a different character. One of them is rooted towards modifying it, and one of them is for gameplay. The important part here is that the data, that all of the values are stored in the game instance, which is the overarching blueprint that is going to go through each map. I think it's the only one that exists in every map. and that's where you want to store all of your important values. So let's take a look actually. Blueprint RPG system. All right, there it is. So this is the character, the gameplay character, which we're gonna look in a minute, and this is the game instance. There you go. As you can see here, there is a player appearance variable. It's a struct. We're gonna take a look at it in a minute. It's a bit of a complex struct, so I'm gonna have to open it up and show you where everything is. Ignore this. This is for something else. This is not needed for this tutorial at all. The only thing you need to take a look at here is the player appearance. Yeah, is this editable? Yeah, so well, I guess we can take a look at it here. So these are all the values that we're going to be modifying, and grab from the customization map into the gameplay map. So appearance name, head. These are all structs. So I think I'll get to it later, but just yeah, this is the final struct that is going to contain all of the data for the player customization. Hair material, face detail, morph targets, bone scale, base material, accessory, shoulder pad, breastplate, helm, mid and half end is useless. I didn't use it because this was made for something a bit bigger with like weapons and armors and whatever, but it's the same concept really. So hands, legs, torso, head, that's it. We're gonna take a look at this in more detail in a minute. So game instance contains all of the data. Asset. Okay, so yeah, we're getting to the data. So if I go here, go to data. Okay, these are all my structs. These are the values that I am messing around with. The event appearance struct is the one that we just saw in the game instance. It contains all of these other structs, all the various ones. So event appearance, there is oh no, this is what it is. Oh, this is the hair material. I'm just gonna double click on it and I'll open it up. Appearance struct, there it is. This contains all of those structs. If you don't know the struct, that's a very important, very useful thing. It should be blueprint structure. There it is. Structure is pretty much a container of variables, and it's very useful when you need to create like hierarchy of data. So in this case, boom, appearance struct. Yeah, so these are all of the various structs that I utilize. So head, for example, it's an event appearance equipable struct type, which is all of these. So head, torso, legs, hands, offhand, blah 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 blah. Then bone scale is a different struct. Material is a different struct. Morph targets is a different struct. Face detail also. Hair type, beard type, hair material, they're all different structs. So just to show you what they look like. So the equipable has a skeletal mesh, a mesh. In case it's not a skeletal mesh, just in case, if I wanted to have a helmet, the helmet doesn't need to have a bone, like a skeleton attached to it. I can just attach the rigid object to a socket on the skeleton. So it can either be a skeleton mesh or a mesh. It has a material, and this is the socket it is going to be attached to. That's it. So this is what that looks like. Scroll down. Okay, and these are the different ones. So the base material has skin color, which is what we were looking at before. These are the various parameters that we can modify to modify the character's appearance. So skin color, garment color, is wearing garment, muscles, iris color, and age. Now this is the bone scale. We saw it earlier on the skin, on the skeletal mesh. We have, close the game instance, so the SK human. So it has those deformation bones. There are two ways we could do that. I'm going to show both of them, so let's just say that this one handles how the bones scale on the character to give it more like bigger arms, bigger chest, or smaller, whatever. I see he's wearing garment parameters, which also controls is wearing garment in the base material in the blueprint, but that's okay. So face details, and these are all of the various morph targets, which I guess we didn't go through. I should go through that. Then the beard type, and this is the hair type and beard type. This is just an integer. It just switches between them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. It goes through each one of them and just applies it to the character. So that's it. It's just a switch. It doesn't matter that it's a groom. It could have been a mesh or whatever. It just attaches to the character. And this is the material itself for the hair, which I'm not gonna get into because it doesn't matter. Okay, so we have that. Okay, let me show you the various. What is it? Oh boys. Well, I'm gonna find it. There we go. SK human head. Perfect. That's the one that I wanted exactly. All right. Okay, so the human head has a bunch of morph targets. There we go. Up a little. Okay. It's pretty creepy. I'm sorry about that, but you know, I wasn't trying. If I could use a meta human, at the time they weren't coming out. Yeah, they weren't out yet, so I would totally use a meta human. It would look a lot better. But yeah, so here we have just a bunch of expression sliders and whatever. So I made 2 sections of sliders. One is for expressions, because I wanted to give a preview of expressions on the character customization, because oftentimes like a person make a character and then they start emoting in the game and they look super ugly. Like they're not appealing at all. So I just wanted to give a preview of like how does it look with the jaw open, how does it look with the tongue up, and so on, and pucker, whatever. So you can make like a very like a few expression to use. So let me zero everything out. Okay. And then there is the actual body modifications that we're going to use for like character customization. So grab all of these and I start like messing around with these, and you can see that I can start modifying the character. I had a list of things that you can modify. I have a list of morph targets that I wanted, but just to give you an overview, you just need like a few things. First of all, you need the mask. We need the eyebrows, morph targets, eyes morph targets, nose morph targets, and then the mouth morph targets. Then there is the jaw morph target and chin morph targets, as well as the forehead. And they're like protrusion. I mean, if you play video games, you know what the sliders are and you know what they need to do. So yeah, you should look up your favorite game. For me, it will be like something like, I mean, that one doesn't have the best character customization, but like I was looking at Dark Souls and stuff like that, to kind of give me an idea of what I needed for my character. So I just go ahead and add all of those various morph targets in shape. I think they're called shape keys in Blender. There are many tutorials on how to create them. When you import the character skeletal mesh, they will be added. There's a little plug, a little checkbox for import morph targets, and then you just have this giant list that you can access to if you can access the skeletal mesh. And we're gonna see how. Cool. Okay, so sorry for that. It's taking a long time to get it to the blueprints, because there's actually a lot of setup to get there. Before I even started like doing all of this stuff, it took a long time. So once I finally had the character in with all the morph targets, all the material setup, and I got all the data that I want to start messing around with, now I can start connecting all the dots. So these are all the various structs that we saw earlier. I just opened them up separately. Ignore that for now. I'm just gonna close them. Material, face export. Right. Okay. More targets. Okay. Good. So, how do we modify all of these data? Well, now we're gonna get into this one. Is it here? Is it here? Oh, let me mute that. So where is it? I lost it. No. This is the animation blueprint. This is an RPG UI. No. What is it? Test blueprints. UI tutorial. No. Sorry. There it is. Test for RPG. There it is. Very messy folder. See? Don't be like me. Order your folders properly. That was so messy. Alright, cool. Alright, so you need ignore this one. We don't need this one. I think it's just this one. Customization character. Yeah, customization character. You need a character. So how do I do it? So blueprint class character. You just create one of those, and then you create a animation blueprint, and then I have a widget that handles all of the UI. So these blueprints are for this map. Let's start with the customization character. Let me close the head. Let me close SK human. And let's go the material. No. Alright. Customization character. So the customization character is just this. It's just the character. It doesn't do anything. It only has a mesh. This is the components. So I got a capsule component, arrow component, mesh. The mesh also contains torso, arms, and legs. There are different separate skeletal meshes. The hair and the beard grooms. It has a spring arm and a view camera, which, yeah, I did use, yes. So it's just a regular character. The important bit here is in the construction script, you want to use the top mesh, this one, to control the animation for all of the others. So that way, whatever animation is applied here is going to apply to torso, arms, and legs as well. And you do it with set master pose component. This is the node that you need to use for that. So new master bone component, it pretty much telling it what I was saying earlier. Use the mesh to control arms, legs, and torso. That's it. Very simple. On the event graph, so it has very few controls. Okay, event begin play. This is the part that I wasn't doing right. I should have used the character controller, no, the player controller to do all of this, but whatever, I was using the character. At least it's neatly all here. Cool. So event begin play. I want to create the UI. So create the UI. It took in some variable on creation. To do this in your UI, I'm gonna grab the UI and go to the graph. Okay, please don't get scared. We're gonna go through this. Hold on. Rich block. Attributes. New variables. References. There you goes. So on my references, if you have, for example, the sun. Yes. So for example, if I want to know what's the sun in the scene, I just make a variable sun with a directional light, type directional light. I make it instance editable, so it's editable outside as well, and expose on spawn. This is the checkbox. Expose on spawn allows me to input that when I create the UI, and that way I get my sun, my character, the neutral light, that's just an extra thing, and the camera. So I have two cameras. One of them, it goes close. When you zoom in, it goes close to the character's face so that you can modify the face better, and then when you scroll back, it goes back to the original camera that we were using. So this way we get the reference to that second camera. And then set the UI, I create a variable to store the UI so I can always reference it later, and then I add it to viewport. And at the end, I enable the mouse cursor, which is a function. It's this function here. Get player controller, get HUD, appearance UI. Yeah, this is the variable that we just created that stores the UI. And set input mode game and UI. And so yes, so these are the two nodes that you want to remember. So input mode game and UI, and show mouse cursor. These are the two things that you want to remember in order to activate or deactivate the mouse. So these two. Cool. And back to the event graph. Right, so this is it. This is the game start. The game start, create UI, enable mouse cursor. Now, as far as input, I wanted you to be able to, you click and drag to rotate your characters with your mouse. So input mouse X. So it will read the value of the input mouse, but it will only work when you hold down the right mouse button. So when you press the mouse button, it opens a gate, which allows to add controller your input. this is the one that does the actual work of this amount. So I guess I multiplied it by -1 because it was inverted. That's it. So add controller your input. Disable mouse. Oh, I actually didn't use this. It didn't need to. And the zoom interface. So when the mouse wheel is up, is pressed up. View camera. Set aspect, set view. Target with blind. Yeah. Okay. So this is the node that you need to remember. So when you zoom in, it pretty much switches camera. Goes from the one that the character has to the one that is in the scene, that is up close to the character's face. So it requires you to have a target, a new view target. So from player controller, it goes to the new camera. Camera to find this is the camera that is in the scene here. Face camera. As you can see, it's close to the character's face. That's it. So it just blends into that one, and then out of that one when you scroll out. That's it. That's it for the input. The other thing. Enable mouse cursor. Yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. Construction script. I don't think I have anything else. What it does have though, this character, is appearance. It also has that struct that we were using. This is because I needed to modify it in order to modify the appearance of the character. But I think this is actually not what I used. I think what I used is I send a reference of the character to the UI, and then I handle all of the modifications into the function library, which is what we're gonna look at. I guess we could look at it now. So how do we actually end up modifying this character? Is in the event function library. So variable in switch doesn't matter. Set face details. So this is just to show you. Where would it be? Miscellaneous function. I don't know where it is. Blueprint function library. This is what it is. It's pretty much a container of functions that can be accessed from everywhere. So it's really, really useful. So you have functions that you use all the time, and then you're going to use over and over and over multiple map. Use function libraries. They're great. And macro libraries. It's really, really useful. So set appearance. Boom. Let's open the big one. So this is the overall set appearance, and all it does is it takes in, as usual, for function library, it takes in input, modifies it, and then spits out an output. At this moment it doesn't actually have an output, because all I'm doing is just giving it information, telling him how much do you want it to modify it by, and then it modifies. It actually does the modification itself. So whenever I do modification, I send in set appearance, and then it will go in and start modifying the character. I think I use this one when I start on the gameplay map to do the setup of the character, because this contains all of them. It contains the face, body, human material, corpulence, and beard and hair material. So this contains all of them, but actually all of these are actual function in the material function, in the function library. So for example, if I double click this one, there you go. So this is the not very pretty, not very optimized I think a very dumb way to do it. I don't know if there's a better way. It just worked, you know. All it is just a big list of morph targets. So I'm getting the reference, the human head, and the face morph data. The dark blue is the data. The light blue is the reference to the object that we're going to modify. So it is saying, so I break up the morph target struct. It's getting it from outside somewhere else. Is asking, can you please modify the lower lip size to 0.5? Great. It takes that data, it finds the head, and then this is the node that you need to remember, set morph target. Very simple. All you need to do is put the name of the morph target. It asks you which skeleton mesh do you want it to apply it to, and then you obviously put, in this case, the head. You put the name of the morph target, you put the value that you want to change it to. This I don't even know what it is, it doesn't matter. I just leave it. And the stupid way that I did it is this, where like each time you modify one morph target, it modifies all of them, even if they're staying exactly the same. So it's constantly reading all of these values all the time. And this is so it goes through all of them in sequence. I guess I noted them here so that I remember for the names. I just copied them over, and that's it. So it's very dumb and simple. You just modify morph target all the way down to the end of the list. So that's it. So go back here, body morph targets. This is a little bit, I think, a little bit nicer looking, and a little bit more complicated. Hold on. So this one uses the sequence, and finally the return node. So on the then 3, it returns. It's like, okay, finished. I finished my operation. Again, we got all the reference here in light blue and the actual data that we want to modify. Then I put them all in slot like this, male, female. So this is the morph target. Because I'm modifying all of them, so the mesh, the torso, arms, and legs, you get male, female, and the face shapes. These are the overall ones that we saw earlier. And it's a set morph target, It's the same thing. Nothing changes here. It's the same. Just organized it a little bit better, a little bit different. Okay, so back to here. Material values. Okay, so this is gonna be a bit more complicated. Yes. Okay. Oof. Here we go. So the important node here is create dynamic material instance, and then the various set parameter values. Okay, now why is this important? This I actually had to ask I don't know, Ryan Laley. He's on YouTube. He's a great YouTuber for Unreal Engine, and I'm his patron, and I asked him, how can I modify the material in a blueprint, right? And he gave me this node, create dynamic material instance. This revolutionized everything because I could finally modify the material directly in the blueprint. So what it's doing is making an array of all of the meshes. I make an array, and for each one of those arrays, each one of the elements in these arrays, I get the material. The return value is obviously another array. I get the the first one. This is because meshes can have multiple material, which are in an array, but I just want the first one, the first slot, which is the only one it has. So it only has one material. I shove it in the create dynamic material instance. What that does, it creates a material instance that you can modify. That's it. So get source material. The target is the array element, so it's the various, whichever one it is. And what it does now, I can grab this. This is a material, a dynamic object reference, which is a material. And now I can use this node, set vector parameter value, to have like a value. So skin color, this is a linear color struct. It's a built-in structure for Unreal Engine. It's the RGB color. It's that parameter that we saw earlier in the material. Skin color, garment color. This wearing garment is just a float. Muscles float. Iris color, also linear color. And age, float. With the wearing garment, I'm also adding the morph targets, obviously, because it's changing if the character is wearing clothes or not. And that's it. In the set vector, so vector parameter value is the RGB, because it's 3. Vector is 3 data RGB, and the set scalar parameter value is just a float. So it's wearing garment. You just need to input the name of the actual parameter that you want to change. That's it. That's how you change the material. Okay, that's a lot. It is I think 2 months unpacked in one single video. So stay with me. We're gonna get through this. Okay, so where am I? Okay, function library. Back to the appearance. So we got the material out of the way. Corpulence. This is oh yes. Okay. So we didn't look at this, but I'm going to now. So how do we actually change the scale of the character? How do we change the scale and the various body part size? So chest size, arm size, leg size, head size. In this case, I just made a struct that contains simple floats, and you just change the floats, and then you give them. So you set them on the humanoid animation blueprint. So it requires the reference of the animation blueprint. So I'm gonna grab that, BP, this one, customization blueprint. There we go. This is the animation blueprint. I'm doing those modifications here. Now this is the only part of this whole thing that I really wish there was a better way. You can do it in 2 ways. You can either modify the bone. Let's see if I can find it. Modify scale. No. Scale bone. No. Modify. Transform modify bone. So this is the value. So I guess if you don't know how animation blueprints work, I would recommend just take a look at the tutorial how they works. Pretty much input you got a pose input and then a pose output. The only weird things I'm doing here is that I'm transforming this pose from local to component to do some modifications with the transform modify bone. So this one, you see that the guy is blue. When the guy is blue, it means that it's a component. and then from component to local at the end before I input the output pose. That's it. So the transform modify bone, it can interact with a single bone, and then you can scale it, rotate it, do whatever you want to it. And the other thing that I used is additive animation. So what I did, because I didn't want to change like constantly all the bones every frame, I made 3 minimum to maximum. How much can you scale up the chest, the hips, and the arms? And these are like curated modifications that I made on the character, so you can't get something crazy out of it, because of course you can push it, make it huge if you want, but I just wanted to make it still look normal no matter how far you push the value. So I pre-made these assets, which is just an animation asset. So what I did is I don't remember how I did it. You can import it as an FBX if you want. You can do it in an outside program and just import the FBX already pre-made, or you can open up an animation on Unreal Engine. So I would just I made a 1 frame pose, T pose for the character, and then I did all the scalings of the bones that I wanted, and I saved it out as a 1 frame animation, and then I apply additive. So I add that pose to the base pose, and that's the part that I don't like. I do that every frame. Now it works the same when you're in gameplay. This keeps happening every frame. He's adding the chest scale, hip scale, and arm scale. I wish there was a way to do this once. You set it up, you grab that bone scale, you apply it to the skeleton, and then you don't touch it ever again. I wish that if that was possible, that would be great. And if someone knows how to do it, please let me know in the comments. Just tell me, because I want to know how to do that for the future. This was the most unoptimized bit of the whole thing. I know that there is a skeleton, like a dynamic skeleton that you can create, but I didn't understand how that worked, and it seems like you cannot apply an animation blueprint to it later, which kind of sucks, because if you need a character, you need to be able to animate it too. So if someone knows the answer, please let me know. Okay, so that's it for the bone scale. So 3 additive animations that are added to the base animation layer, in a way, driven by chest scale, hip scale, and arm scale, which is these: chest scale, hip scale, and arm scale, and then the character scale as well, which is, there it is. Is handled here. So next are the eyes. So this is an internal thing to the animation blueprint. It pretty much allows the character, every time it blinks, to change the eye direction slightly by these values. There's 2 values that drive it. So it goes from local to component, and then I transform modify the bone of the eyes to be rotated and eye dart around a little bit. This is a 2-section part actually. There's this part, and in the event graph is where I actually set that up. So on event begin play, set timer by event every 3 seconds. Oh, ignore that. That's not needed. So set timer by event every 3 seconds. Launch this event. What event? This one, blink. So I want every 3 seconds a blink. How the blink is, I don't know. There should be a better way. I'm sure there is a better way. I don't know. This seems like you don't need this. This is overcomplicating it. But the way I did it is that I interpolate a linear color from red from 0 to 1, and it gives you like an interpolation speed. So it pretty much, I just wanted a value that went from 0 to 1 in a linear fashion. That's it. That's all I wanted. This is what this is. What I did is that I grabbed the color, I made it go to from 0 to 1, and then I grabbed the red channel, pass it in the value as a float. So that's all it is. And then I set the morph target, the blink morph target, from 0 to 1. That's it. After a delay, I set new random IDAR value, so random float. I get a random float, plug it in normalize to range, because obviously this could be like minus 3 million. I normalize it from minus 1 to 1. I multiply 10, minus 10, don't ask me why, it just worked. And then just plug it into either X and Z. And finally I set the morph target. I do the same thing in reverse from 1 to 0, and get the red channel and set the morph target back. So pretty much the eyes close, there is a blink in between, sorry, there is an eye dart in between, and then the eyes open. That's it, that's the blink. And finally, character scale. I get the value character scale, and I plug it on the bone root from the root bone to just make him bigger overall. And then component to local to get out of the output pose. That's it. That's the animation blueprint. Whew. Okay. Is that animation? How long have we going on? Ooh, this is an hour long video. That's a very long video. Okay. Where am I? Yes, set appearance. Okay. Scorpions. Okay. Now for the hair and beard, I would recommend you not to do this. If you really want to do this, this is how you do it. Again, you get the reference hair and beard, and then you get the hair type, which is an integer. Now I got a hair asset that I manually populated, I think. Yes, I manually populated this array with all of my hair asset. There is better ways to do this. Don't do this. And I get the length. I clamp the integer between minimum and maximum in case it goes over. Goes back to the previous. Check that it's valid. Check that obviously the reference exists, otherwise it's gonna crash. Hair asset, I get this value, right? After I clamp it, I can get this value. I put it into the get. I set the groom asset to the one of this index, and I also get the hair binding asset. Like I was saying, hair asset, the groom assets, they always have binding and hair asset. As you can see here, they switch. They're the exact same. Name the same so that I can easily find them. And then set binding asset. This is the node that I guess you will need to remember. It's the set groom asset, yeah, set groom asset and set binding asset. That's it. And it's the same for the beard, the same thing. That's it. Now forget about it. Don't do that. And set hair material, this is just, it's the same as what we did with the other material. It's just, so you create dynamic material instance and then all of the various value that I had. That's it. This is how in the nitty-gritty we actually change. So whenever we want to change something in the character appearance, we call one of these functions either directly. So for example, I want to set a face detail, I just call the eSet face detail function. If I want to use if I want to change the whole appearance all at once, then I can set eSet appearance, pass it the values that I want in the struct, in the appearance struct, and then it's going to take care of itself. It's going to apply all of the values, and then you get back the character with the modified appearance. So this is what the event function library was for. It handled all of this very boring and time-consuming part. Now finally, I think we're ready to finally move to the last piece of the puzzle, which is the UI. The UI is what handle in the designer. It handle all of the values, sliders, and so on. I actually made textures for each one of these things. I made this texture for the window, the line, the slider. You can just make it yourself. Let's see if I can find it. RPG UI textures. There you go. So these are all the textures that I made. That's it. They're just a bunch of small textures, buttons, arrows, slider handles, sliders, the sun knob that I was so proud of, and yeah, the windows. That's it. Right. So back to the window. So this is why it's so customized, but honestly it's just a bunch of pictures. You can probably download a bunch of them. I drew these ones. Cool. So what we got here is a very overly complicated and not very customization window. Oh boy. There's just a bunch of sliders, really. Sliders of two types, I think. There's a regular slider, and then there is the, what's this one? It's a spin box. Yeah, spin box are the ones that have like this texture on it. I used the red, green, blue channel. You can slide these up and down, but they're just glorified sliders. There is two scroll windows on each side. No, on this side there's two scroll windows, one for the body sliders and one for the face sliders. Here you have the name text box. You can write your name. The attributes, you can click them up or down. It's just inputs an integer. Body, mind, soul, these are like attributes that I just wanted to add. The age and the birth date, weight and height. So these are actually managed, which I think is the fun part. You don't actually modify these. These are calculated by how you use the sliders. So if you add the age slider, it would actually make the age grow bigger. And if you make the character larger, it will add kilograms to the character. We'll see how in a minute. This is the maximum attribute points that you can add to these. This is the preview box where you can decide if it has clothes, if you want like neutral light, so it will just add a white plain light to the scene. That way you can see the character in a more neutral setting. This is the time of day knob. So the expression and the time of day. Now I remember, you might want to look this up online. There is, I don't know if it's a add-on for the UI that you need to turn on in the preferences. Search for sound knob or something like that, because this is what this is. It's a sound knob in the UI, and see how to turn it on. Both of these are just that. They're special slider, pretty much. This one you can move around to get different expressions, and this one you can rotate to rotate the light in the scene. I was using Lumen, which was really fun, and that allowed me to put like very, very nice looking natural light that is dynamic. That's it. So this is how the UI looks. Once you break it down, it's actually pretty simple. It's just a bunch of sliders, a couple of special sliders that you might want to look up how to make. But this is just a preview. It has nothing to do with the real customization of the character. It's just preview, so you don't have to even have it. And we're moving on to the graph. So this is the big, messy, kind of crazy graph that I made for all of it. I just figured that since it's a one scene type UI, like it only happens once in the whole game. It modifies the characters, and then all you need at the end, all this is like, here's how you modify all the character, blah 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 blah, and then at the end when you finalize the character, it puts everything in the material instance. Let me see, send the characters message, finalize and start the game. So what it does at the end, when you say start play, it grabs the game instance, check that it's the game instance, and as the game instance, set player appearance, which is the value that we saw before in the game instance, and then you pass it the value that you have set here. So all of this is like a facade. You're just modifying the character and you're just seeing things in the map, but they don't actually matter to what your character is gonna look like. All it matters is the data. So you grab that data and you plug it into, what is it? Yeah, there you go. And you plug it into the game instance. Now you have all of that data that your player wants stored. And all you need to do is reapply it once you load the new map. Let's open the new level. So I open the house in the forest level. And then, there we go. I change the player appearance. So I get the player character. I pass it actually no, this one I remember. This one wasn't actually working, this bit. I did that, I think, no, I did do it. I don't remember if I did it here on the player card. I think I did it twice, just to be sure. Redundancy. Maybe RPG character. Yes. So all it does is, when I start the game, on begin play, it builds the game HUD. It references the HUD. It references the game instance. There you go. It grabs the game instance, and then it grabs what's the player appearance data, and it just applies it to this character. That's it. Mission accomplished. So it's just a big smoke screen. This UI is just a big smoke screen just to get all the data stored into the game instance and then plugged into the character. Right, now we can just get into the nitty gritty. This is the last step. Okay. Let's start for the event construct, which is kind of like a begin play for UI. When this is constructed, I'm just getting references, the reference to the animation blueprint, get the camera initial location, set starting hair color, up the musculature, and up the attribute weight. That is because I noticed that when you start the game, obviously all these values are like, the game wants to know what are the starting values, and so I would just set it up myself, a base thing, just setting it to 0 so that it comes out as the standard character. Right. This is the preview thing. Update sun direction when you rotate the knob. When you start moving the mouse on the knob, it opens the gate and takes the value and rotates the sun. That's it. Set actual rotation, the sun, and a new rotation pitch. And it just rotates the sun to make like morning to sunset lighting. Okay. I don't think I used this one, to be honest. I know I did because when I update the material, I might have to update it manually to this one, so I think I will call both functions maybe. No, I run library function to update the material. ESET human material values, yes. So yeah, this just calls update character materials. So remember the event library functions, function libraries that I was talking about. So this is where we call it, is the UI. We got events, custom events that call the material, and they tell you which value you want to pass through based on all of those knobs and sliders that we decided. So let's take a look. So this is the big one here in the middle. This is all of the inputs. So all this is whenever you have a slider, you can add all of these events. So for example, on value change chest slider, so when the value on the slider is changed, I can set, so character, appearance, break appearance struct, and then set member in the appearance struct. And so I'm pretty much creating a temporary struct with new values that the player wants. So the player is moving the sliders. The values are updated in the struct, and then the struct is passed into the set corpulence. Right. I guess I did it here, didn't I? Why didn't I use the function library? I do not know. But yeah, you can do it either way. You can do it here. You can make your own function, but you can also use the function library. I just thought I used the function library for some reason. Did I not? Yes, I did. Let me double check. What did I do? Material values, ESET, beard. Why did I set the corpulence? That's the only thing that I didn't use the function library. I don't know why. I should be. Well, it doesn't matter. Update attribute weight. Yes, as you can see, when you change the size of the body parts, it updates the attribute weight, which is down here. Update attribute weight, and update as a text. That's it. Cool. Well, yes, so face camera location, just face camera location based on height. Yes, of course. When the character gets bigger, the face camera would be too low. So this one looks at the character height and make sure that it's always in line with the face. It sweeps up or down based on how big is the character. It's just an extra little thing that I just wanted to make sure to have. Here I set the body morphs, same thing. On value change, update the struct, send in the references, and ESET body morphs, which is in the function library, which we saw before. Same thing for skin color, same thing for face. See, all of this is just a big thing, is just the same thing over and over. This one was a little bit more twisted and twirled and weird, but all it is... Oh my god, what was I doing? Why? Body change lower zip size sequence 0 on 0 on 0, set the member, and on 1. Oh, that's so stupid. Okay, why did I do it like that? A character target appearance and set iris color. Yeah, so pretty much I'm doing the thing twice. One is to set the data, then we're gonna send to the game instance over here. And this is to actually set the face morphs of the character in the scene, which is kind of like a husk of what the character is going to be. So all it is like I'm doubling the work. I just wanted to set the face morph directly, because I didn't want any delay between what when the player is using the slider to the face morph that he's seeing. So I guess that's the only reason why I did it so complicated. The way you will usually do is you use the same face struct to control the face morphs in the character. If I double click this one, it opens it up. It's a big node where I grab the same data and I apply it to the same face morphs. So it's like I double my work for no reason. Sorry about that. That's gross. Don't do that. Do it better. Alright, so whatever. It's what it is. I did it a long time ago. Alright, cool. And next the iris, same thing, home value change, get the data and apply it to the material, to the function. The hair, blah blah blah, same. Everything is the same. Now this is the preview logic if you want to take a look. I don't want to really go too much into it, it's not important. The checkbox, yeah, updates the it's just for the garment, it's just a checkbox, on off, garment on, garment off. Natural light, it just turns on the light and the intensity of it. And the expression preview, it's that little 2D slider. Oh, I guess that's what you could look at as the little 2D slider. Set expression and yeah, X and Y. That's it. It just yeah, that's it. It just changes the expression. I guess, yeah. Oh, okay. I could show this X and Y. So that slider. The designer here, this expression as an X and a Y, and then based on those I can modify. I guess that's something useful to know. I would say, if you want a good takeaway, is this map range clamped changed my life. So with map range clamped, you can take any range, in this case from 0 to 0.5, and map it to a completely different range. So from 0 to 0.5, you could map it to 1,000 to 3,000. You know, you can do whatever you want. It's very useful when you want to normalize stuff that is weird. So if you have like minus 360 to plus 180 for a rotation, you can still map it to from 1 to 0. Very useful. Definitely remember this one. It's great. And all it is here is just, I'm just again set morphs. What is it? Yeah, I'm just setting the morph targets for all of these to just get. This is weird. Oh, why did I do it this way? What? Why am I lerping it? Then you add it and then set expression morphs. And there you go. These are the expression morphs. So the set morph. Oh, this is so overly complicated. I don't think I needed to make it that complicated. I should have just made it that you get the XY value, you map it to the range 0 to 1, and then you apply those to the various you know why? It's because I was making an expression. This would have been better to do it in the animation blueprint actually. what I was doing here is set an expression, a predefined expression like angry, using all of the morph targets. Yeah, I was setting an expression, and then I would blend between them with the X and Y. Don't do it this way. Just have 4 expressions in your character with an animation, with an FBX animation. Put it in the animation blueprint. Call the animation blueprint and tell him when the X is 1, turn the animation in the animation blueprint to 1. Turn it on and off. This is way overly complicated for no reason. I should have made it a lot simpler. Cool. Let's skip the press start button because that's the last bit. Stats. So when you hover over the body, it shows you there's like a little note dialog box that tells you what those attributes do. When it's on hover, you turn it off. Attribute description, blah blah blah. Change attributes. Handle attributes. What? Unclicked. Mind up. Yeah, so this one. So when you click on the little button to raise the body, it updates also the musculature and the weight. Put up, down, musculature, weight. So when you click up, it lowers. When you click it up, it raises it by 1, and when you click it down, it lowers it by 1. That's it. Muscles, again, map into a range. Get the character appearance, say human material values. Yeah, because the muscles are the texture, right? So you need to set it into material value. Again, everything is all the same. It's the same thing. Move slider, get data, plug it into the function library. Age, I do some calculation based on the slider. So if you slide up the age, it will change the age number based on the years. Again, clamping it from 20 to 70 based on the slider that is 0 to 1. Cool. Height, same thing, based on how big your character is. Weight, based on just a slightly more complicated version of what we saw here. It clamps the values. It gets the value from the slider. It clamps it based on I went online and I looked up how much does an arm weight, how much does a leg weight, and then I just kind of like there's like skinny to fat, let's say. So how much does a hip weight? All right, and there's 18 and 38 is a lot, right? In kilograms, I think. And then the slider is 0 to 1. So I map that to that new range. Then I add them all together. So all the body parts have different weight. I add them together. I multiply them by the height, which is from 1 to 1.2. Just adds a little bit based on if you're taller. Of course, you may weight a little bit more of your same size, just a bit smaller. And same for the muscle. So if you're more muscular, you're gonna be heavier. So I add the muscle multiplier. I truncate the point whatever, just so I get an integer. So I transform the float to an integer. I transform the integer to text. Just no, no, let's start from the float to integer, integer to string, string to text, text to the set text of the attribute weight, or whatever. Okay, that's it. Finally, last piece of the puzzle is the set start. So when you click start, it checks, did you input a name? If you didn't, it's gonna tell you you need to write the name before you can start the game, because obviously you can't have a character without a name. So after you change the name, checks, it's like, great, you can play the game. And then it's gonna do the set name of the character actually in the struct, update the struct finally, last update before the game starts. And then there's the part that I was talking about. So you get the game instance, pass all the attribute, and then start the new level. Ignore this, ignore that, and ignore this. This is not useful. So it's just this, the open new level. So get reference and open new level. That's it. Complete. This is the whole thing. Okay. So that was very long. It's an hour and 30 minutes. If you have questions, ask away. I'll try to answer as best I can. Sorry I couldn't make a more like step-by-step tutorial, but I think for people that just want like the quick version of it, just because they need the overall idea of how it works, and if you just want to see the blueprint, you can pause at any time to check. I don't mind. Just, yeah, I mean, have fun. I hope that makes sense. Sorry for those that really know how to blueprint and how to code right. Please don't be mad. I'm very new at this. It's very messy, I know, and it could have been optimized a lot better. If I had to redo now, I would do it a bit better. All right, that's all. Thank you for watching, and thank you for putting all those comments in that video. I'm happy to see that it can be useful, and yeah, let me know if you wanna see something else. All right, take care. Bye.